Hello, everyone. Welcome to Everything Arsenal. We are back again with more transfer news. This time we are here to talk about Mohammed Kudus. Could we have Mohammed Kudus at Arsenal? We have some really good relationship with Ajax. So I would not be surprised if he ends up at Arsenal. There's very reliable links to Kudus. We'll talk about him. As you can see here, I tweeted a lot about him last season, actually. So I really love Kudus. I watched him a lot last season for Ajax in the Champions League and also for Ghana when they played at the World Cup. We'll also be talking about his countrymate. Will Kudus be the only Ghanaian player at Arsenal next season? Or will Thomas Partey also be there? We'll be talking about the latest on him as well. And also just at the end, Arsenal have a new doctor, or you're about to get a new doctor, medicine guy. We'll just touch about it a little bit at the end, and also review our new kit and see what you guys have to say about it. So let's get started. According to Sami Mokbel, who's tier 1 in terms of journalist covering transfer news, he says Arsenal are eyeing a move for Mohammed Kudus, but they need to sell players fast. So Kudus, let's talk about Kudus first before talking about selling players. So last season watching Kudus, I mostly follow Ajax, the Champions League, because I usually play the Champions League fantasy game and I do content over it. So when I had Kudus like the whole season in my team. Why? Because he could play various positions, and in the game itself, the Champions League fantasy, he was selected as a midfielder, but he was playing as a striker for Ajax last season in the Champions League. In the league, sometimes he played in attacking midfield. He can basically play in the number 12 role where Odegaard plays. That's his main position. He can play as a center forward. He can play on both wings. Doesn't play that there too many times, but can also play there as well. And I've seen him playing in the Harvard's Xhaka role, the number 8 role as well. So that is another versatile player we could be bringing for Arsenal. Number 2, 100% fits into the age bracket you're looking for. He's 123 years of age, and he's an international player. He played at the World Cup for Ghana. He's made over 20 appearances for Ghana. I think he played at the AFCON as well. On top of that, he has also played Champions League football. That is something that we don't have a lot of in our team this season. Not too many Arsenal players have actually played Champions League football. We have a few like Zinchenko and Jesus and Thomas Partey, maybe Gabriel for Lille, but most of them, the likes of Ramsdale, Saka, Martinelli, they've never played Champions League football, and those are starters for us. And Kudus has played at the World Cup. He has played in the Champions League for Ajax as well. In fact, he has a very good record in the Champions League. Last season, he played 6 games and he scored 4 goals. And when they went down to the Europa League, I think played 2 games and scored at least, I think, 2 goals or something. Very good record in terms of international and European football. So he's going to be adding that to our team. He's only rated at around 40 million pounds. That is something you can definitely get in terms of signing him. 100 million. We just used 105 million on Declan Rice, 65 on Havertz, 40 on Timber. So if you can get another player worth around 40 million, that is not way too expensive, like 70, 80. I know we all want, like I said, and other players like that. But that one we have to like sell almost the entire squad to get in another Caicedo or getting like a player like Cancelo. But for Kudus, it's very much affordable. It's a player that you can definitely afford, and I'm sure he'd want to come to Arsenal. We have a very good relationship with Ajax as well. Recently, after in fact, we like their goodbye video for Timber was really good. It was so good we decided to actually go to get a second player so that we can see another tribute video from Ajax. And they were tagging Arsenal in the post. Arsenal were tagging Ajax on the post for Timber. So the relationship is very good. We can never do that with West Ham. Like, okay, they didn't even mention us when they sold the rights to us. So for Kudus and Arsenal and Ajax, that combination, things are looking good. And that's a team I can see us giving a player or two in a couple of years or even this season. Who knows? Kudus, he is linked to Arsenal, and it's not only Sami Mokbel who talked about him. This is why we usually say Fabrizio and David Ornstein are happier in terms of like transfer news. David Ornstein reported this back in May. This is what David Ornstein said all the way back in May. Exclusive. Mohammed Kudus declined 1-year extension at Ajax in April, plus informed club of wish to leave. Contract 2025 plus Ajax tend to sell at this stage, likely to take 40 million. Likes of Arsenal, Manchester United, Newcastle tracking 22-year-old, although not current top target. So that was reported all the way in May. So David Ornstein has very good connection. They already knew Kudus was not going to stay there. Now, Newcastle and Man United. Man United have already signed Mount, already signed Havertz. Will they really need a player like this when they already have Anthony and Sancho and all those guys? I mean, we do have a lot of attacking players as well. I'll actually talk about that one as well. But I'm not sure how much they want someone like a Kudus. I think they're seriously looking for a striker. And for Newcastle obviously can. Like, we never know what Newcastle will go for. They definitely would want a player like this. They can definitely get a player like this. But for us, this would be an incredible signing. Once again, another versatile player. So it brings a lot of qualities to Arsenal. And I love him so much. So I love the idea of getting him to Arsenal so much. So this is what Sami Mokbel had to say. Arsenal 40 million rated Ajax midfielder Mohammed Kudus. It says Arsenal interested in Ajax 40 million rated midfielder Mohammed Kudus, but are focusing on trimming Mikel Arteta's squad after adding to their 200 million recruitment spree. The Gunners have already strengthened their squad significantly ahead of the next season, with Declan Rice, Havertz, and Timber arriving through the door. Arsenal sporting director Edu will now turn his attentions to outgoings, with Jurrien Timber, Cedric Soares, Nicolas Pepe, Albert Sambi Lokonga, Nuno Tavares, and Rob Holding among those attracting interest that could tempt Arsenal in selling. The future of Thomas Partey has also been subject of uncertainty this summer, but it is understood that Arsenal are not eager to sell the Ghana international this summer, with only a huge offer likely to entice the North London club into sanctioning his departure. We are going to talk about that as well later. But while the current focus is offloading players, Arsenal are not ruling out further arrivals this summer, with Ghana international Mohammed Kudus among the players interesting in the Gunners. Let's see. His versatility is known to be particularly attractive to Arsenal's recruitment staff. Arsenal's recruitment staff is amazing. Like, sporting players like this, absolutely perfect. Kudus is also of interest to Brighton this summer, but the attraction of playing Champions League football and playing in a team hopeful of challenging for the Premier League title next season could emerge as a factor for the Ajax player. Meanwhile, Arsenal has started the process of identifying replacements for doctor. We'll talk about doctors later. Let's focus on Mohammed Kudus and him potentially signing for Arsenal. So they've said we obviously need to sell players first, and that is obvious. We definitely need to sell players. Like, we have a squad of around 30 players over in the USA, and that is a squad that doesn't have Lokonga, doesn't have Tavares, it doesn't have Pepe, doesn't have Cedric, it doesn't have I don't know if Smith and Thomas Partey were in that list. I don't think they're in that list, but they will be joining them soon. So we have a squad of almost 40 players. So people need to leave. I think Okonkwo's not even in that plane as well. So we do have a lot of players who need to leave. We traveled like 30 players to USA, and he left like 10 others back at home. So we definitely have to sell. Now, we definitely have to get rid of players, but if we're not just getting rid of them, we need the money, then the players like Rob Holding are not going to give you too much money. Like, the recent offer we've had for Rob Holding is literally 2 million. So we're not going to get that money and put it together unless we sell the literally 20 Rob Holdings as to get Kudus. So that is not going to be enough. That is where now I think selling all of them could be possible. How much can you get for Lokonga? 15 to 20 if we sell. Tavares, maybe. I'm not sure you're going to sell both. I have a feeling one is going to be sold and one is going to be loaned out. So you're not going to get money for both. So let's say 15 million for Lokonga, and then you get 3 million, 5 million for Holding. We're not looking to sell him as well unless we get a good offer. I think Arsenal want like 5 to 10 million at least for Rob Holding. Players like Cedric are not going to get much money for him as well. So that is where now the likes of Tien and Partey usually talked about, because they will get you money. But for me, I want both of them to stay. I feel like if you sell Lokonga and Tavares and all these guys, you can get at least close to 40 million, unless they have to recoup around 100 million in total. Then that becomes a problem, because even if you sell Lokonga, Tavares, all these guys, it's not going to get to like 100 million. You're going to have to sacrifice one of the likes of Tien and Partey to get that money back. But for me, I really, really want this player. Now, all those players I've mentioned, Cedric, Holding, these are defenders, and maybe Nketiah and players like that, forward players. Now, where Kudus is coming to play for Arsenal, we have a bunch of players. So that makes me ask myself, does that mean if he joins Arsenal, someone will be living in that midfield? Not even like, if you talk about the front four positions, like Odegaard, Saka, Martinelli, and Jesus, those positions. So we have Saka, Odegaard, Jesus, Martinelli. We also have Balogun. We have Nketiah. We have Fabio Vieira. We've just signed Havertz. We have Emil Smith-Rowe. We have Nketiah as well. Those are 10. I'm sure there's like 12. I wrote them down somewhere. I mean, if you add Kudus as well, that becomes 11. There's someone I'm missing. Who am I missing? Trossard. I shouldn't be forgetting him. So those are like 12 players in the forward position. So if you have Martinelli, Saka, and Martinelli, Trossard, and Smith-Rowe helping each other in the left wing, and then Saka, Nelson on the right wing. We still have Marquinhos at Arsenal, so that's around 13, 14 players. Marquinhos are not left yet. And then you have Jesus, Nketiah, Balogun as strikers, and then you have Havertz, you have Odegaard, you have Fabio Vieira as the number 10s, and then you can also count Havertz and Smith-Rowe, maybe Trossard as number 8s as well. And then if we end up getting another like defensive midfielder and Rice can play as a number 8 as well, like those are too many players. That's like 13 players in 4 positions. That's way too many players. We usually want a player and a backup and then maybe one extra. So 9, 10 most. And we have 13 of them. And most of you want Arsenal to get a striker. So that becomes another thing again. If Arsenal get another striker, if we get Kudus, we might not get another striker, but that will take our forward plus like 14, 15. So that has to mean that at least 2 or 3 of those players are going to leave. Balogun, I have a feeling he's going to leave, to be honest. I don't think he's going to be here next season. Jesus, Martinelli, Saka, Trossard obviously are going to be here. Nketiah, we don't know. Is he going to sell Balogun and Nketiah in the same window? I don't think so. Personally, I feel like Balogun is going and Nketiah is going to stay on the bench. Fabio Vieira, some of you want him to go. I don't think he's going to go. So that takes Smith-Rowe. They already confirmed is going to stay. So hopefully he does stay. Don't want Smith-Rowe to go anywhere. So Nelson does pick up injuries here and there. So there's that. But those are way too many players. So we have to definitely get rid of players before bringing in Kudus. And 2, 3 of them could be from our forward position. So let's see what happens with that. Speaking of players who are leaving, will Thomas Partey be one of them? Well, the latest news on Thomas Partey is actually kind of good news. According to Sammy Mokbel, once again, he says it is understood that Arsenal are not eager to sell Thomas Partey this summer, with only a huge offer likely to entice the club into sanctioning his departure. So I hope you can't hear that dog barking. It's so loud. Every time you start recording, something starts happening. Like, so annoying. But for Thomas Partey, basically Arsenal is saying, listen, we don't have to sell him. That is good. But if you bring good money, then we are going to sell him. Now, I definitely want Thomas Partey to stay as an Arsenal player. I have a feeling he's not going to be an Arsenal player, but this is where I'm like, I really hope I am wrong, because I want Thomas Partey to be an Arsenal player. And if we are only going to sell him if it's good money, like 45, 50 million, then I'm 100% okay with that. This 20 million, 25 million for Thomas Partey, not good enough. So if we don't really have to sell him and you're waiting for a team to get 50 million for him, I'm quite happy with that. So I don't think too many teams will actually offer that. So that will probably mean he's going to stay. And if Saudi Arabia does have that money to pay for Thomas Partey, then we are going to get 50 million for a 30-plus-year-old who only has like 2 years remaining on his contract, and we can get a younger player with that money. That would not be a problem. So that's actually good news in terms of Thomas Partey. Looks like we don't have to sell him, or they're not really actively looking to sell him. They're just like, you know what? We can sell Thomas Partey, but only if you bring good money. But as of now, we don't have to sell him. I think that's the same with someone like a Balogun. Like, he might want to go himself, but we are like, hey, unless you can pay 40, 50 million for him, we are happy to keep him. He doesn't have to go anywhere. So that is quite good. So for the Ghanaians watching this, we could have 2 Ghana players in the team next zone, in Kudus and also Thomas Partey. Let's see. And 2 players who've played in the Champions League before us. Well, so next up, just quickly, next 1 minute, let's talk about, we obviously released this new away kit. The reception has not been great. Personally, if I was to rate it out of 10, I'd give it like, like a 3. It's not the best, let's be honest, especially compared to this one for last season. This is a 10. This kit from 2021, 2020, which year? 2022, 2023 kit. This is a classic. This is a 10 out of 10. So people are actually saying we've gone from the best away kit to the worst away kit the very next season. And it's actually sad that we're actually going back to the Champions League, and this is the kit you're going to be wearing in the Champions League. But let's see. If we win the Premier League with it, then we'll remember it as a good kit. Let's see how that one goes. And then last one is on Arsenal's doctor and medicine position. Arsenal have started the process of identifying replacements for outgoing head of medicine Gary O'Driscoll. Mail Sport understands the Premier League's chief medical officer Mark Gillett is among those Arsenal would like to talk to. So we are actively looking for someone to replace Gary O'Driscoll. Let's hope this one is sorted out as well. We want everyone ready for the start of the season. We are less than 1 month away from the new Premier League season, so let's hope everything is done. So that's the latest on Mohammed Kudus, Thomas Partey, new away kit being launched, and the Arsenal's doctor positions ahead of medicine position. This has been a long one. There was a lot to talk about, but I appreciate you guys watching. If you watched until this point, I appreciate it. Thank you for watching. I'll catch up with you guys on the next one.